Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us at TCCA 2020. We hope you have had time to have some lunch or whatever time zone you're joining us at. I hope you've had a chance to enjoy the keynote, and we're ready to get going. This is our 10th year of putting on TCCA, and we are excited to have attendees from all over the world this year. My name is Kimberly Aceto-Tannick, and I'll be hosting this session. Before we get started, I do want to go over a few items with you. If you have any comments or questions, please post them in the chat box. My co-host, Carrie, will also be monitoring the chat and giving information to our presenter. We will, at the end of the session, be sharing with you some information, including that all-important password for your certificate. And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to our presenter, John Meehan.
Here we go. No pressure. Hi, everybody. I hope you can see and hear me. Carrie and Kim, can you give me a thumbs up or a note in the chat that it looks like we're working out? I think this is working.
Looks good.
All right, good deal. So I'm going to mirror my screen. Hello, everybody. Thank you for spending some time today. I'm excited to join you here. I'm John Dunn from Washington, D.C. So wherever you are, I hope you're staying safe, you're staying healthy, you're staying positive, and you're testing negative. I hope you're wearing a mask and that you are doing the best we can in this new now. I don't even know if I want to say the word normal, but I want to talk about ways to go the distance for our learners, whether we're in person or in some sort of hybrid model. Some of us are in the in-person with a modified schedule, and I wanted to talk about ways to change the game, whether we are in person or online. We only have about 50 minutes today, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about myself, but everything you'll see today is available on my website. Templates are available at adrenalinerush.com. That's just like here, Adrenaline Rush, right? You see it on the bottom and it's on my shirt. And I wrote a book about game-changing student engagement inspired by theme parks, mud runs, and escape rooms, also called Adrenaline Rush. Wherever books are sold, available also on Amazon. You can even read the first couple of chapters for free. I hate it as an instructional coach and as a teacher when presenters waste my time or waste my money, so my goal is not to do either of those things for you today. If you want to get a hold of me afterwards and say, hey, I had a bunch of questions, runners left on the base, I tell the students I have no life, I have no friends. I just talk about teaching all the time. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter. I'm right there at MeehanEDU. And if you like today's session, feel free to mention it on Twitter. It helps other people find me and find the great work that we're doing. We don't teach to make money, we teach to make an impact. And so I hope I'm able to help you make an impact in your classrooms, whether you teach littles or middles, high school or adult learners, and whether you're teaching in the public or the private K-8 schools or anywhere beyond it. It's a new year, and this year for most of us, we are kind of building the plane as we fly it. So anything that I can do to help, I'm all in. I really love this stuff, and I want to help you do the same. So again, I'm John, and this is Student Engagement Strategies for Virtual Teaching, talking about ways to go the distance. You'll notice my first strategy is right there on the bottom of the screen. Boom. On both Google Slides and on PowerPoint, we have the ability to put closed captions. I know I talk quickly. I'm from New Jersey. I'm high energy and I'm high adrenaline. I have ADD and I'm constantly bouncing off the walls. It's helpful for me to know that I am not lost in a presentation. And sometimes something as small as just hearing a truck backing up outside or having your dog walk across the floor can be enough to throw you off. It's great to then have that little ledger on the bottom so you can see what has been said by your speaker presenter. It's a free tool right there on the bottom of your Google Slide presentation. You can see I pull up the menu right here. Just click the captions button and you can turn on the captions. In fact, in PowerPoint, I think they even have the ability to put on captions in multiple languages. So you can be speaking English, but you can have the captions come through in Spanish, for example. An awesome tool to include anyone. What I love about playful learning and game-based learning is that it's always inclusive. There's no achievement gap for Pokemon that Black students learn differently than white students, or rich learn differently than poor, or gay learn differently than straight. Games are inclusive. They're inviting everyone to go the distance and to be a part of the team. And if we can make our classrooms more inclusive, more welcoming, more empathetic, and more kind, I think everyone's in a better place going forward. So let's get into it today. Talking about going the distance. I'm going to talk today about ways to keep our breath, keep our momentum, even though we are in this very weird time away from school. I used to say when we were in the building, I teach reading and writing, but I also work as an instructional coach for the building and a speaker, an educator, presenter, consultant. I would say, reading is breathing in, right? It's all the good stuff that we take in, like going for a good long run, deep breath. And writing is breathing out. We push out all the bad air, right? The O2 in, the CO2 out. And it's a cycle. You have to keep breathing again and again and again. Just breathing in those loops so that you have new things coming to you, but you're also pushing out. It's not enough to just take a sponge and wipe it across the countertop. You have to squeeze that sponge out every now and again. So in this time of COVID, I've switched that language from reading is breathing in and writing is breathing out to consuming is breathing in and creating is breathing out, because not every class is a reading or a writing class. And the big secret is we don't actually teach content, we teach kids. So whether we are English or math or science or literature or history or religion or Spanish or gym class, our goal is to help all students feel safe and supported, that they are breathing the same air through our classes. So what does this look like? How can we help them get stuff in and get stuff out? Because not every class is a writing class. Not every class is a math class. When they consume in a class, a bunch of different ways to do it. The world doesn't really care how you have learned what you have learned. It just wants to see what you can do with it once you have got it in. So we consume. We can get direct instruction by attending a live class. For some of us, that's on a Zoom call or on a Google Meet or a Hangout. For some of us, it might be on a Microsoft Teams meeting or an in-person class where you might even have students dialing in. But they don't have to have learned it from me, Mr. Meehan, because I'm the be-all and end-all of thought. They could, hypothetically, take notes from a recorded class, either on Zoom or on a podcast with timestamps. Hey gang, the notes are up, the lecture's up. Go ahead and do that flipped instruction. Take notes, and then when you have those, submit your 10 best findings of that short video or that short presentation. They can do like an ed puzzle, for example. So they're taking notes and they're interacting with it, so I can see that they're breathing in, whether I'm directly instructing right here in person or virtually through a screen or through a recording. And if that doesn't work, they can take notes from a print or a digital source online. Just ask them to include their citations. In an era of fake news versus real news, especially in the US election cycle, we want our students to document, where did you find what you found? It's not about me forcing them to read page 7 or that video forcing them to learn in the way that I've learned. I can give them a YouTube video. I can give them a link to a website and say, hey, go ahead and take notes on what you found. Write a short email or post to our LMS or our discussion forum with like the 3 or 4 things you found most interesting or most exciting. And just prove to me that you breathed some stuff in. I have to put my ego aside and recognize I would love to be their best teacher in the whole wide world, that they've learned everything from me. But the truth is, we have the internet right there on our phones. We have the internet on our devices. We have to honor the fact that students learn in different ways on different days. And so for a single student, if they choose to attend a live class, or if they choose to take podcast notes, or if they choose to use their textbooks, maybe not every student will have to use every one of those structures every day. And that's okay. As we let them breathe in, just as long as they're breathing it in, that's good, whether it came from source A or B or C. But building a protocol for that. Once they breathe it in, then now it's time to breathe something out. Show me that you filled your sponge up. Squeeze it. Let me see some of that student work. Talk about ways for them to create. Doesn't matter if you're teaching littles or middles or adult learners, they can give their thoughts back to you by recording a quick podcast. I record a podcast every week in my car while I'm driving to work. It's literally called Talk to Me in the Car. I turn on my phone and I hit the record button on the voice memo, and I just talk extemporaneously about what that weekend instructional coaching is going to look like, and I post it up online. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Your students can do the same thing. Do a 30-second sound recording. They can send it to you on Voxer, for example, or on an app that you have that's password protected for your LMS, or they can just record it right to their phone and send it in as an email. It's a great way to get their thoughts. Hey, in about a minute, explain to me the most important thing from this unit we've studied. That's great, because they're breathing their piece out. They're sharing with you. They're contributing. They're creating something. Maybe they're not comfortable talking. Maybe they have some sort of speaking or speech impediment, and they don't feel good hearing their voice on tape. Okay, no problem. If you don't feel comfortable having your voice recorded, not every class is a speech class, can you share your notes with me in Google Doc or an online platform? A lot of different ways to get students to interact when they don't have to be seen or heard, but they can write. Some of the best writers in the world are super awkward in front of cameras, and that's okay. I want to honor that for my students. I don't want to ever bully or blame or shame anybody in my classes. So if they cannot feel comfortable having their voice on record, maybe they can have their written word, and then we can have that shared as well. If that doesn't work, even a third option, perhaps they can film a short video, post it to the web. Flipgrid is amazing. We'll talk about Flipgrid today. YouTube can be great. TikTok. Our students love playing with these apps and these tools on their phone outside of class. Why not leverage that same thing into our classrooms? Hey guys, we learned about covalent bonds. Can you go ahead and film me a short TikTok style video where you tell me all about covalent bonds, but you have to do some sort of dance where you've celebrated what each of these types of bonds means. It has to be 30 seconds or longer, and you have to be able to explain what each of those moves mean. It's an outside of the box way of thinking, but as we're tinkering and as we're getting our students to breathe a new air in a new normal, there's a safety and a comfort in knowing, well, I breathed a lot of stuff in a bunch of different ways, then there's no reason why likewise we can't help them and encourage them and support them to breathe out in some different ways too. And then that element of being seen and being connected is so critically important. There's a great educator based out of Japan. His name is Rushton Hurley. This is his Twitter handle on the bottom of the page. And what Mr. Hurley says, he's an educator, writer, and a presenter. He says, when it comes to writing and reading, whether they're breathing it in or breathing it out, he says, when students know that others will see their work, they want it to be good. There's something about that human element of writing for an audience and putting on that thing that you know will be in that showcase or that gallery walk, or here's the school play. I know there's a crowd of people and I'm excited and I'm a little scared. So I want to get those butterflies in a positive way, knowing that you will be seen by your peers and by an audience more than just your teacher's eyes. When you know people are out there who are looking at you, you want it to be good. But what Hurley adds is, but when it's just for the teacher, they're kind of okay with it being just good enough. And how true is that for so many of our kids? As they're taking part in whatever they're taking part in, they'll do it on the bus because they know the only set of eyes who will ever look at it is their teacher. And they don't have a friendship with us. They shouldn't have a friendship with us. We can be friendly with them, but we're not their friends. Trying to impress that girl who's sitting down the way and you're trying to catch her eye versus trying to impress that old teacher man with that bald head, it's a different look. It's a different move. And for our kids to be seen by people whose opinions and voices they value, it creates like a spirit of teamwork and camaraderie. And it's so important, especially in this time of COVID, that our students feel safe and supported and connected with one another. So again and again and again, wherever possible, not just giving a thing that they turn in for the teacher man who sits in the ivory tower and gives them grades, but rather we do it like a team. We all work together. And our goal is to do the same thing in our classes that we would have in our sports and our clubs to kind of replicate some of that social emotional learning that's so critically lacking in this time where they are physically distanced from our classes. These are my game changers. I love the idea of borrowing ideas from sports and marathons and theme parks and mud runs, escape rooms, video games, getting our kids to get excited about our classes just like they get excited outside of school. So I do a bunch of education research as an instructional coach and as a writer and presenter. And I borrow ideas about what's working in the psychology of how games work so we can make our classes feel a little bit more playful. This is not teach, then do Jeopardy one day, then do a test. Rather, it's borrowing the science behind what makes our brains addicted to hard fun in games. Playing Minecraft for hours on end, playing Fortnite, playing Among Us. What is it about those games? Because it's not just about the graphics. Sometimes the graphics are almost embarrassingly bad. Minecraft's graphics are not particularly impressive. It's not about the killing. In a lot of these games, there is no killing. Mario Kart, for example, it's just about having fun with friends. Pokemon, for example, it's about collecting things. What is the science behind what makes us want to do well that we seek out spending really good money on really hard things? We're excited to put more money into a game that's kicking our butt. And I talk about these in my game changers. Here's a bit of sports science for you, or it's psychological research. There was a research team in 2004 based on opposite ends of the United States, one team in California and the other one on the East Coast. And they were looking at the psychology behind how and why people spend their money in places that give like frequent buyer cards, like your favorite sandwich shop. You get 10 punches, you get the 10th sandwich free. They did it actually with a study of car washes. They said place A had a punch card with 10 holes, and they said get those 10 holes punched and you get a free car wash. Place B had a card with 8 holes. Get those 8 holes punched, you get a free car wash. Statistically, it would not take you too much time to think about it. If you had to get 10 holes versus 8 holes, likelihood would be if you were to fill out the card, you'd probably go to the one with the 8 holes because it's just a little bit faster, about 20% faster. That makes sense. So 2 car washes that were competing, they found that 8 holes did better than 10 holes. That's not surprising to anyone. What's interesting about the psychology behind it, though, is they had one car wash that had 10 punches to get the car wash free. The other one had 8. And what they did at the first car wash A, they punched the first 2 holes when you came in as your sort of beginner's luck bonus, effectively giving you a card that now has 8 holes remaining in it, exactly the same as the people down the way. What's interesting, and this is what blew my mind about the research from this team, I think it was out of Harvard in 2004, is the completion rate for the people who had 10 holes with the first 2 punched for them was not just the same as the card that has 8 holes with no holes punched for them, even though they're both effectively 8 holes punched. In fact, the one that had the 2 holes punched wound up getting completed at an 82% higher rate. And as we're talking about ways to change the game, this is what we call the endowed progress effect. If you come in thinking you already have money in the bank, like you already have momentum. You've hit the ground running. Something's been done for you. You want to pick up where you left off in media res, and you feel like you'd be a fool to squander that momentum. 82% higher when you feel a little bit of a head start. And when you can see that clear end in sight. So much of what misses in our classrooms, especially in the distance learning model, is it all kind of just feels like jelly and it blends together. How can we make clearer edges? Because games have like quarter marks or half times or periods dividing things. And there's a clear ticking clock in our brains that says, oh, because I have an unfinished task, but only so much time to finish it, I'm going to work really that much harder. So I'm talking about education game changers today. I'm going to talk about 7 of them. But before I get to those 7, I wanted to talk about one thing in addition to the captions that I use on every distance learning presentation that I give. And it's right here at the bottom of this slide deck. This is my endowed progress meter. I just took on Google Slides and made a series of text boxes. Each of these text boxes you see is a different color. And these are my magnificent 7 game-changing tips we're going to walk through for the remainder of today's presentation. This helps us chunk and compartmentalize. It also helps us make a marker of how far along in the presentation we are. And each of these things has been given a sort of slight clever title to whet your appetite, like that sandwich card that says, oh, I'm hungry to come back for more. We've already made this far into it. We have some quotes and some ideas about breathing in and breathing out, changing the game for distance. But now you see, oh, wait, there's a thing that says, in a world where, well, my brain's kind of thinking about that task. Or along the way, it says, why don't you slides? Wait a minute, what do we have to say about Google Slides? Keeping our brains that little bit of novelty, our brains are hardwired to over-remember things when they feel novel, when they feel fresh. That endowed progress, then, as we get that much closer, we remember pieces and steps in our journey, which helps us feel like, in a distance model particularly, we are making headway, even though it may not be in a physical classroom. So let's talk about game changer number 1, talking about virtual Post-it notes. This is my sticky situation slide right there on the bottom. Virtual Post-it notes are an amazing way to get students' voices into our presentation. And I think if Kimberly and Carrie, if you guys would be so kind, I sent that link out. It's that first link. We're going to jump into a Padlet right now. If you've never used Padlet, we're going to put the link right in the chat. Here's how it works. We're going to put that link into our chat today. And when you click on that, you have edit access to this board. You can put a sticky note right on our virtual board, just like everybody else. I'd love you to share a virtual Post-it note right now. Go ahead and give a click to the link, where you give a tip for an online teaching tool that has worked really well in your classroom. You can post up just by putting your name. You keep it anonymous if you don't feel comfortable signing your name to it. But click right there into the Padlet, and I'd love to see your thoughts. An awesome tool, Padlet, being able to use virtual sticky notes for like a parking lot style discussion, maybe at the end of a unit or at the end of a class, or for a brainstorming exercise where students are all sharing their thoughts. Are there other tools for it? Sure. Is it particularly fancy? Not really. It looks like, hey guys, here's Post-it notes for everybody. Take them and stick them on the wall, and we'll think about whatever you put up there. But I'd love to see your thoughts as well, so we can get a practice sort of a hands-on strategy. What would be your smart tip for online teaching? I talked about endowed progress. I talked about Rushton's idea of making for an authentic audience so students feel seen and supported. I talked about breathing in and breathing out. So we're about 10 minutes in today's presentation, and we've already talked about those 2 or 3 activities. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What is your smart tip for online teaching on your virtual Post-it note? I'll hop over there. I'll hop off of this piece of the presentation. I'll meet you over on the Padlet, and I'll give you another minute or so to share your thoughts up in there. You can see it really is moving this quickly. When I head to the Smart Tips for Online Teaching Padlet, which is mirrored from my screen, I hope, you can see with the push of a button, people are sharing information already. Click, click, click. With a double click button here, someone says, give very good examples and directions, recording short mini lessons. I love that idea. And again, it's marked as somebody who's anonymous. You don't have to sign your name to it if you don't feel comfortable. That's great. The person is able to post that up. And if you wanted as a teacher, you can make it so that this board was password protected where only your kids would have it. You can see that as people are posting in, they come through in real time. I'm noticing this is coming in right here. Flipgrid reflections, amazing. Someone said brain breaks. Someone said they tried Gimkit. This is, again, I used this a few days ago to work with other teachers. Example, Google Slides, Keynote, Google Slides. Someone says pick 1 or 2 tech tools and learn how to use the you-know-what out of them. I'm a big fan of Google Sheets because you can use it like a giant whiteboard and have students protect their cell. Awesome, awesome idea. Someone said here Flipgrid reflections to share about their projects, and they're still typing. I can see that they're typing in real time. So their projects, so other students can see them. You notice that this person here uploaded a picture right from their desktop. They can download a picture from the web and post it right to the sticky board. This one has a GIF they've included. I included a GIF up here too. I said, I love using Padlet. It's a great way to see and be seen. Giving opportunities that we can know that other people than just us are seeing our work, so important, especially in this time where our students don't have that face-to-face access in so many ways. I'm going to hop back over to the other one, but again, this is Padlet. It is totally free to make like your first dozen or so Padlet activities. As like I said, an instructional coach, I do hate it when people waste my time or my money. So I try to refer people to activities that are teaching based, that are as free as we can possibly make them, or at least that there's a free version somewhere available in there. But so if tip number one for our endowed progress was the online Padlet, great tool for littles, middles, high school learners, just sharing their thoughts like we did there in that sticky board right there for Padlet. But I'm gonna keep moving. For game changer number two, I'm talking about chatting with student videos. And as you see here on the endowed progress, my thermometer is starting to fill up. When I give an online presentation, I'll constantly take that online thermometer and fill it up little by little so students can see their progress throughout. Now we're talking about not just posting up sticky notes like we saw on the Padlet. Now students can post, well, what if they posted pictures? And if they could post pictures, could they post videos? You betcha. My go-to for posting a video, if you haven't used it already, surprise, surprise, is Flipgrid. I absolutely love Flipgrid. If you've not used Flipgrid before, it is super easy. I think 3 summers ago it was purchased by the Microsoft Corporation, so it is totally free for all teachers everywhere. You just head to flipgrid.com. You can log in with your Google credentials, and your students can post short videos of themselves. You can set the parameters of how long those videos could be. They could be 30 seconds. They could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. But I want you to see here examples of my students showing a little bit of their swagger, a little bit of their personality, right here on this chat, because to be seen by other students is so important to help us feel like we're not just doing this in a vacuum. You see Haley has that really, really big smile. Tommy didn't feel comfortable putting his picture, so he put up an emoji over himself. That's okay. Here's Emma flashing her peace sign. I think every teenage girl at one point or another has taken that exact photo. Meanwhile, Joey and I have to talk. I think he was working out, and he like wore a muscle shirt. So if you look really closely, I think he might not be wearing his school uniform in that picture. Andrew, meanwhile, didn't feel comfortable putting his picture at all, so he put that. But they can put little stickers over themselves. They can put almost a sock puppet version of themselves as they're talking. They can put up filters where they talk behind what appears to be a different screen. That way, if they don't feel comfortable for any reason being seen on camera, they can still have their voices heard. Students then can likewise go back into this threaded Flipgrid, which is password protected, so only the members of the class can see it, and click on the name or number of any of their other classmates and watch their video back, almost like you were left a video voicemail by a classmate. You as the teacher can make the videos as small or as long as you want them to be and ask any prompt question. I won't do it today because of the time limitations, but I could say, hey guys, we just read chapter 4 of Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. What was the most disturbing image that you came across? Post a video of about 2 minutes and explain your why to the class. Go. Or, hey guys, we're learning about the quadratic equation. Go ahead and explain how you solve problems 1 through 17. Pick any problem you want and walk us through using the quadratic equation, how you did it step by step by step. The beauty is students can go back in afterwards and watch one another's videos and post either video replies or threaded text replies. Hey, I read your note. I loved how you said XYZ. I agree at minute 124 when you said blah, 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 blah. Love, John. Thanks so much. It's a great way for students to have a little bit of that turn and talk, even in a virtual environment. And flipping for Flipgrid is a great way to get students to be the teachers in the classroom. You can then take those videos, export them and save them and cobble them together in YouTube or other presentation softwares that you might have. Really, really helpful to help students know they're not just getting content from you, they're giving content back, right? They're breathing it in and they're breathing it out. Part of that learning cycle and part of a team that they're seeing their classmates, their teammates. And because they know that their classmates are going to be looking at it, they're probably going to put a little bit more effort into these videos. If they don't like their video, they'll pause it, delete it, and re-record it. And that's a win for everybody all around. So, game changer number 3. Oh, so pretty presentations. I do all of my work in my class on Google Slides. Everything you'll see today is a Google Slide presentation. In fact, afterwards, you'll get a copy of the presentation. And on my website, adrenalinerush.com, I have copies of templates for every single thing that I'm going to share today, not only in this session, but there's also a 1 o'clock session Central Time where I'll talk about the full Adrenaline Rush templates and things like that that come from my book. So I'm giving 2 types of presentations today. You're welcome to check me out on the Sketch app and see more. But my presentations, I want them to raise above the average bear, because our students, if they're doing full virtual learning, we're going to be barraged with a lot of really clunky, really ho-hum, really dry, click, 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 death by PowerPoints. In fact, the 2 gentlemen who made PowerPoint, they said the best way to defeat an opposing army would be to send them the PowerPoint, because it's the type of thing that it was designed not to be doing what we are doing with it. And it's not designed to be just long slides with tons of information. It's designed to be a visual presentation. But so often we see so many bad PowerPoints or so many bad Google Slide presentations or so many bad Prezi presentations that our students' eyes just start to glaze over. And that's really hard. So I want to talk about ways to elevate our presentation game using a few quick hacks here in the Google Slides template, totally free. This would be a sample PowerPoint I might send to my students maybe 10 years ago. We were studying Flannery O'Connor and the short fiction of the Southern Gothic. So I would give them 3 paragraphs about who she is and what she did. Okay, fine. And I would send this out. Now, I didn't know what to do with it. I wanted it to look pretty. So I put it on a black background with some white text because it's like some spooky stories, some scary stories. And I would say, well, I want them to read it, so maybe I'll put a title up there. Okay, it's not particularly sexy, it's not particularly attractive, but at least use some colors. And it feels kind of Halloween-y, right? Black and yellow and purple. I don't know what to do. I need these kids to care about it. So maybe I'll just, I don't know, grab a picture. This would be my first draft at what would be a slide I would send out. My students would look at this and promptly forget about it exactly 0 seconds later, and then they would not listen to whatever lecture or presentation I had to give. Because here's the problem. I'm competing with stuff like Netflix and Fortnite and Among Us and League of Legends. And if this is the best I can muster to send to them, I'm not going to rise above the noise of the everyday of what's going on in their world outside of my classes. So while I'm talking about Google Slides, I got to get my slides popping. I got to get my kids really excited. So let's take this same exact content and just repurpose it with a little bit of a creative panache using free tools that are built into the Google Slides app. This is my black screen. Maybe here I've given it a logo. Same exact wording. I just changed the font. And if you notice, I put 2 crosses there. If you're a Christian tradition like my family is, I work in a Catholic school, we can talk about the faith of these stories. But if you notice, the look and the feel of it, still with that dark background, feels like, I know the Jesus story is supposed to be a happy story of redemption, but this feels like something's off. Something's sort of cattywampus. Something is not right. That's good. I want their brains thinking about that unfinished business. And I put some spooky fonts right beside it here, and it looks almost like a Halloween type story. Mysteries of sin and salvation. Now I see crosses, but I see sin, salvation. Well, now our brains start to unpack all of that stuff we already know about these things and start making some predictions. Almost like you get in line in Walt Disney World and you're in the line for the Haunted Mansion, which is really just a slow ride through a graveyard. But you see the spooky space, you see the tombstones, you hear the creaking sounds. Your brain starts to fill in those details. Maybe I give a few of those details by just putting a GIF in the background. How much spookier does this feel or look just because I have changed the background, not to a still image, but to an image that looks like crossing a bridge, maybe like we're washing ourselves clean? But it's not bright, is it? It's not sunshiny. It almost looks a little decrepit, a little decayed. Our brain starts to connect those dots. And I just searched online for a free GIF. I was like, water GIF. And I wanted the one that looked a little bit spooky. That was good. Now I'll take a picture or 2 or 3 that look equally spooky and equally sunken, that relate to the stories we're reading, whether we have a broken down car or a boy who appears to be being baptized, or maybe he's being drowned. And then a farm that looks like, I don't know, that weather's looking kind of ominous. Our students' brains are starting to fill in the details before they've even seen so much as a single word from my unit. And I could send a slide deck out on a Monday and say, hey guys, we don't have any in-class stuff today. I won't see you for our online class until Tuesday. I want you to read that slide deck through. And when I come in on Tuesday, I want you to have made some predictions. Now I take what otherwise would have been that text over the white font on the black background, and I just take it and repurpose it here. So it looks as if you've opened up almost like a virtual book. How dark, how spooky, how immersive. Now, some might argue this one maybe is a little too much, and maybe it is a little overwhelming with the sheer amount of visual elements that are pulling in. And you certainly can calibrate to your own needs, but I use it here as an example to demonstrate that little bit of spookiness, that little bit of panache, that little bit of style goes a long way in separating my slide deck from where it used to be. And if they get 6 other slide decks in the day, how much more do they want to do the homework for my stuff? Because it looks cool. That little bit of novelty will make them lean in that much harder. So I'll send out the slide deck on Monday, and it'll look like that on the first page. This is slide deck page number 2. Hey guys, I won't see you till Friday's virtual class. You need to have completed each of the steps in this journey before we get to Friday. Move at your own pace, right? Good video games let you move at your own pace. Play as long as you like. Each of these steps, when you're done with green, move to white. When you're done with white, move to purple, et cetera, et cetera. And if you take your mouse and roll over stuff, each of these things would have access to the linked document right there. This otherwise would have been a handout I would have given to them, and that handout would have said assignment 1, assignment 2, assignment 3. But even young kids, ages 4 and 5, can play the game like Candyland. you move your piece to the next space available. When you're done with what's on that space, you move to the next, and so on and so forth. It's clear, it's visually consistent, it's ADA compliant with disabilities, so students can see differentiation and fonts. And all of this is available on my website. You can grab templates of it too. Again, it welcomes them to the world of that haunted mansion or that big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It makes them feel like they're on the Pirates of the Caribbean. And along the way, they feel that endowed progress. I'm one step closer to finishing the work for this week. After I do green, then I do white. After I do white, then I do pink. I can even give my graphic organizers right here inside of this document. Slide 3, when you finish the pink graphic organizer, fill out this thing that's waiting there for you. We're learning about spooky Southern stories, whether you watched the Beyonce Knowles video, which is linked up there on the left-hand side, or this spooky pro wrestling video on the right-hand side. This Southern Gothic stuff that I'm teaching, it's all over pop culture. It makes us feel like The Walking Dead or something is just a little odd about it. I want my students to tap in and see real-world relevance. This would have been otherwise the type of thing I would mention in a lecture in class, but now I can use it to build background knowledge. They click either video A or video B, and they use what otherwise would have been the graphic organizer to just write right here in the Google slide deck, give each student, either through Google Classroom or through my LMS, edit access to their own unique copy of this presentation, and they just make their comments right there. So when I get in, I see Billy's, has Billy's slide been filled out? Yes or no. Johnny's, Janie's, Susie's, Tina's, etc. Really straightforward, really fast. And again, they never have to break that magic circle like in Disney World. You never have to see Mickey Mouse without the costume head on, right? It's always in the world of living in that space. Everything is themed and consistent. And it's a new theme each week. So I can send this out and we'll do 1 week of Southern stories. And the next week can be space age stories, et cetera, et cetera. I love tinkering with Google Slides by doing free tools that are available on the web to make my slides a little bit prettier. This is me. Younger times, happier times, pre-COVID times. I think I had a little bit more hair there. But there's a cool tool on the internet. It's called Remove BG. I can take a picture of myself or anything else for that matter, and I can wipe out the background of a photo with the click of a button. No software to install. Just head to Remove BG. You can get it from your phone or from the web. With the push of a button, it'll wipe your background out, and you can be anywhere in the world you like. Now putting one image over another image. In this case, maybe I'm back in my classroom. Hey, that's cool. Maybe I wanted to send to my students almost like a flat Stanley. I can travel anywhere in the world. Speaking of spooky Southern stories about salvation, now Mr. Meehan's taking them on a virtual tour of a church or of Egypt or of Mesopotamia, whatever your virtual tour looks like. Or maybe, I know this is being recorded, but please don't tell your students, we just need to kind of laugh and go another place that's sort of just for adults. We can take that image of ourselves and put us over that. Could you turn this into an assignment for them as well? Hey guys, take a virtual tour of any place in the world. Pop your picture of yourself over those funny, silly spaces. Are you at the pyramids? Are you with the dinosaurs? And then explain to us why you picked the picture that you picked. It's very metacognitive. Helps students feel creative and engaged, and almost in the competition of who can make who laugh, who can be seen to be doing the silliest, the funniest, but also the most school appropriatest of the things that they're creating for. The idea of using your pictures on top of things can also be done as GIFs or GIFs, I guess if you hate saying the word GIF. By headed to unscreen.com, you do a short video of yourself waving and shaking hands, whatever you want to do. It'll automatically wipe out the background. This is great for a math unit. Math is I talk about the OG, the original gangster of project-based learning and problem-based learning, gamification. We say there's a train coming in from the east at 50 miles an hour, and the smoke is blowing in that direction. And then a train coming in from the west, right? Envision what it would look like if these trains were to pass one another. Where would they pass and why? You need those problem-based things. You need those project-based things. You need these hypothetical word problems. This is a math problem. Hey guys, I need you to measure the depth of this pool. I need you to talk about how much carpet would be used for this room. What would be the size and the square footage of? How much more can our students start to see, oh, math, that's the thing that I can connect with the real world that makes money. Here's a picture of me just waving, looking like, woo, 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 making all that money. Our students are seeing this and they're saying, well, this teacher doesn't take himself too seriously, but this is serious business. I'd like to live in a house like that. They can see themselves in the world of your content. Really easy, totally free. Just Google Slides in the background with an unscreen GIF up top. Maybe you're doing something spooky for Halloween, reading the Fall of the House of Usher. Again, the GIF isn't perfect. You see when I put my hands over my mouth disappears for a second. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is Miss Frizzle showing up in the funny dress, right? It's making our kids laugh at what we are doing and bringing them in to say, all right, that first slide was pretty creative. I'll at least click the second one. Spooky and creative with that GIF here in the background. It looks like thundering and something is scary. They get that little bit of my personality, even though I'm not with them in the physical classroom. How much more do they want to then tune in to see what I have to say next? Maybe you can do something for my science classes where we're, what? Partying with phosphorescence. Today, we're going to learn how to make our very own glow sticks. I'm realizing this is not a very appropriate activity because you would have to mix very dangerous chemicals in your house, but just stay with me for a second, right? The idea that Mr. Meehan is putting a GIF of him up looking excited, and then behind it, a GIF of a big party happening in the background. Now science class feels like an electric space full of energy rather than a lecture where I have to sit and pretend like I'm taking notes for a thing that I don't care about. And he's like, Bobby, please unmute your microphone and talk to the camera. Want our students to feel engaged in our classrooms. Lots of ways you can do it. I said I'd give you a magnificent 7 today. We got about 20 minutes left or 15 minutes left. I think we'll get there. This one's a quick one. Interactive class polling. We're at the midway mark, so let's check with you guys. As we're talking about ways to change the game, I love using those 4 things we've talked about. Padlet, Flipgrid, Google Slides, and some interactive class polling. This tool is called Poll Everywhere, and it's 100% free. There is a paid version you can upgrade, which I like for some of the advanced features. But just like this, I click onto my next slide, and it automatically refreshes. You can right now go to pollev.com/MeehanDJO. In fact, feel free to do so. Or you can use your phone and text the word MeehanDJO to the number 37607, and then answer this question. Of the 4 activities we've, quote, test drove so far, talking about changing the game, which one are you most interested in? Is it A, Padlet's bulletin board, B, the Flipgrid videos, C, the collaborative Google Slides, or D, the Poll Everywhere polling feature? Go ahead, like I said, shoot a text message to 37607 or head to pollev.com/MeehanDJO. I would love to hear and see what you have for your thoughts. When you take your votes, it will automatically turn into like a horse race here, and we'll start to see it coming in real time on the presenter deck. Super excited about that. Ooh, look at this. I'm going to put this one 37607 as MeehanDJO. Ooh. Hey, that's cool. So with the push of a button, again, I would love if you're in here. Oh, looks like Google Slides are killing it right now. Yeah, just push that button. I will have this in my classroom. It's a horse race, right? Do we do the Padlet? Do we do the Google Slides? Which one makes most sense to you? And then I'll call on students because their strength in numbers. Whoa, who here said Padlet? Because I saw 2 people here. You guys are in the lead. Invariably, a kid will raise their hand because they feel like they've won. And I'll say, all right, can you unmute and tell us why you picked which? Whoa, those Google Slides, you're killing it. All right, team Google Slides. There's that affinity group, knowing that we're being seen by one another. There's, hey, Janie, can you unmute? Did you say Google Slides? Why? Or maybe there's one brave soul who says, no, I'm going to be that one divergent voice, that voice in the wilderness. I pick Poll Everywhere. Hey, tell me why, Bobby. Good for you standing up there. It takes guts to stand by yourself. I love using anything to kind of whet their appetite because I don't really care what the answer is. I want them to be able to explain or defend why they've done what they've done. It really does help us, again, stand out from the traditional just teacher talk class. I would in this moment say, well, there's one person who said Flipgrids. Hey, whoever was that? Bonus points. I agree with that person 100%. I think that's actually the strongest argument. Who was that person? Who was that? That student's going to throw their hand up and be that much more excited to be seen and be heard, feel validated in the classroom. So we talked about Magnificent 7. We're now on number 4. We have 3 more to go, and I only have about 12 minutes left, so I want to honor your time. But I am available afterwards on my website, certainly on the Sketch app and on the Twitter, so we can get on that too. Let me see if I can click onto this. We are on number 5. Talk about collaborative annotation. If you have not yet, this is my Garfield joke for the Halloween. There was a great Garfield special, candy, 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 candy. I love using Kami. If you've never used Kami before, Kami, it is a fantastic tool for collaborative annotation. You as the teacher create a PDF, and you take that PDF and host it to the Kami website. Once up on the Kami website, it looks just like this. If I can click forward. And you have it up, share the link, and now anyone with that link can now join in and make their shared annotations. You notice they can color code it, they can highlight it. I see that Billy's is in green and Janie's is in blue and Susie's is in orange. They can not only highlight the document, they can underline, they can mark it up, they can right click and add their comments on the right hand side. You see Tobias highlighted a piece and says, beauty that stands out from the standard conception of pretty women. Then Aiden responds not to the text, but to Tobias himself. So Tobias sees that his annotation isn't just there for him to see, it's for everyone to see. William says they're spending their money wisely for their hard work. Aiden says, I agree. It demonstrates just how tight money is for them. Tobias makes a comment, it's an interesting way to describe the tight budget, and Lauren chimes in, yup, I was going to say the same thing, ... Look at how they're seeing that the work they're doing is helping to shape the class narrative. That class is fundamentally different because you showed up, because you made comments, because you've annotated, because you've done that homework. How much more likely are they to then join back in that homework for next time? Because they don't all have to write the same things down. They're still interacting with the text and with their classmates and with their teacher. They're asking questions. They're making notes. We have one document that everyone can see. And literally, we are on the same page. You can use any PDF document that you could possibly think to make, or create, or find off the web. Upload it to Cami. It is 100% free. It's a fantastic tool for shared annotation, for short stories, for chapters of books, for excerpts of tables to be looked at, for homework assignments, things that you want 2 and 3 sets of eyes on before it goes up or it goes in. Maybe you can look at a short speech or a short piece of a news article, right download it from the web. Little schools, middle schools, high schools, anywhere in the middle, students have the ability to see and be seen and then hear what good annotation looks like, so they get stronger by working together. Awesome for tool number 5 of our Magnificent 7. I can't say enough great things. But I'm going to keep moving because we only have 10 minutes. Cami is amazing, and it's free, and it talks to your Google login credentials. Here we are in game changer number 6. These are my imaginative templates, and there really are myriad. You can use them in a million different ways. They are available on my website at adrenalinerush.com. I love Google Slides. I think it's amazing. You can certainly use other templates. I just think it's easiest because students already have a login in most schools that have Gmail addresses, so there's no new software to install. I'm just going to talk about a few things I found in pop culture that I love, that then I brought into my classrooms to help bring my students into my classroom, to make my class feel more imaginative and more engaged. So here we are. I was watching the NFL draft, and I was like, that's awesome. They did it virtually this year. They had each team pick their favorite, and they posted up the picture on Twitter and on the YouTube about what they had picked. I did a screen grab of what that looked like, and I made this Google Slides template that now you, instead of drafting NFL players, you have the ability to edit the text and edit the picture and edit all the stats and draft, in this case, I don't know, this is the history draft. We want to see the 10 most influential civil rights leaders. On your mark, get set, go. Divide the students into 2 groups, boys versus girls, green team versus red team, don't care. Panthers versus Jaguars, whatever your teams are, have your students divided that they have a different slide deck for team A and team B, or team A and B and C and D, and they all have the same draft question. Can you find for me the 5 most influential American presidents? On your mark, get set, go. Who would you draft and why? Well, who's on your dream draft? They drop the picture in. Each of these words here on the side, you see they would free type. And if you roll your mouse over them, you see that this one links to wesleyan.edu. There's an article from malcolmx.com. This one is from news1.org. That one's from history.com. Very quickly, they've done an annotated bibliography. They've said, here's who I would pick, and here's why I would pick this person. And if you pick Malcolm X or Marcus Garvey, or you pick W.E. Du Bois, or you pick Martin Luther King, and maybe the other teams have the same guy, that's fine. We're still going to give a rhetoric or a presentation about why did you pick who you picked, and we'll have a head-to-head matchup. Who was your first round draft pick? Who was your second? Oh, man, I would have picked him too. There's that fun, there's that competition, there's that collaboration. You can do this for characters in American literature. Who are the 3 most villainous characters in all of the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn? Let the teams work, let them collaborate. Then turn it into a flip grid where they have to be like a talking head and make a vote as if it was a post-draft analysis. Hey, Team A, they did a really good job of drafting manipulators. I think what they missed, though, is like the real cowards. And the cowards in that story could be boom and boom and boom. So it's just a conversation. The learning never stops. Students love seeing things that we do in class feel like things they're doing outside of class. During COVID, I couldn't go runs, so I bought myself a Peloton, which is a crazy waste of a lot of money if I don't use it. It's a very expensive coat rack. But if you are using it, it's encouraging you, it's cheering for you, and it's saying, keep doing more bike rides, because they're giving you your stats in real time. Okay, this is what the active HUD looks like from my Peloton. You see I'm right there on the side. I'm number 352 on the leaderboard, Meehan EDU. And I was like, if this is what it actually looks like on the screen, that I'm taking a virtual bike ride through, I don't know, the canyons in New Mexico, could I take this same thing and adapt it to a classroom usage? Hey guys, I'll give you this as a template. Now it's up to you. Take us to the world of Ice Planet Hoth and tell me which characters would be involved in this race. Who would be in the lead of this race? Who would be falling behind in this race? If you're in a science lab, for example, why would Poe Dameron be better off in this environment than Admiral Akbar? Or Rey is doing better than Jabba the Hutt, but not as good as Darth Vader. Can you say why? Again, picking characters that they're familiar with or letting them play in that sandbox. Hey, can we do a virtual tour through the Lord of the Rings? Sure. Why don't we say, instead of 50 minutes of a bike ride, we did 50 minutes of questing through Middle-earth? Who would be in the lead in a race through Middle-earth? Who and why? What music would they have? You see, I've swapped the music out. This is, I said, Enduring Heroes by Wicket in the Woods. That's a real 1%er joke for this diehard nerds about Star Wars. But every student would have to explain why they picked what they picked. And that helps them create and engage. It's a virtual set of Legos. Just swap the background and swap the images. Tell me why this person's in the lead. Who is the winner in this space? If you had a virtual bike ride between the US presidents, who would be the strongest US president? How and what and why? Really helps our students to kind of get their brains racing. And there really are no right answers. You just want to see those wheels turning. Another one I turned out during the time away in COVID, I talked about Edflix. This is a fully editable Google Slide template that looks very familiar, hopefully, because it feels just like Netflix. They were doing a lot of binge watching. I said, cool, can we do some binge learning? Here's our assignment, gang. I want you to use the template I sent to you, this is mine, to tell me about something that you're really passionate about. I want you to launch a blog where you would start talking about episode 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I would care about adrenaline rush, game-changing student engagement inspired by theme parks, mud runs, and escape rooms. If they did an episode 1, it'd be about the pilot. Episode 2 would be about the mud runs. Episode 3 about the escape rooms and about theme parks. And you see there's a little bit of annotated bibliography sort of explaining what each episode would be about. Then on the bottom, you may also like, that's what Netflix gives you, these curated ideas of what else you could see or do if you cared about this. I can roll over these. This is a link to Disney World and a Disneyland. This is about Spartan races or mud runs or different escape rooms and class trip activities. I need them to follow the same thing. I care about theme parks, mud runs, and escape rooms. What do you care about? On your mark, get set, go. This is what my student Mira turned in. I love it. Just swapped out my pictures for her pictures. She decided during COVID she would be a quarantine vegan, giving herself an effort to make a blog where she would regularly talk about what type of vegan dishes she would make. Look at how much fun that child is having, the energy in her face. You click on any of these images and it takes me right to her blog where she shows the latest blog entry. She's seeing herself as a creator. She sees herself as a maker, as a person who is celebrated. And she's being likened to all of these things on the bottom where it's, oh, there are other fashion bloggers or other fitness bloggers who do like this. I want my video to look like theirs. And then feeling like they're creating for an authentic audience makes her feel bigger and braver. Talk about feeling braver. When we talk about the Black Lives Matter movement in my classrooms, I want my students to feel that they have a voice, that we're giving voice to people who have been marginalized or oppressed. Could we use this same template to say, I need you to pretend that Netflix is making a binge-worthy series on the current unit that we are learning. Use this template and find the best of the resources of the best first 5 episodes. What would it be? What would those resources look like? Could these be links to videos, links to websites, links to advocacy groups, policy groups? And we can use this for direct instruction flipped, where then they feel like Team A is working to make the best Netflix show possible, and Team B is a rival company trying to get the same coverage. Who would have the best version of? And they can learn, and they can dig, and they can share, and they can be celebrated. Again, just curating things and project-based learning, really, really supportive, really, really safe for most of our kids. And then every week sending out a weekly newsletter with a link to, here's the 20 things that every student has done. It's just a matter of being seen. Students are being celebrated. They built this in Minecraft. They made short videos. They posted up a blog. They started a cooking channel. Whatever it is, any course, any content area, seeing that there's real-world relevance, and then celebrating the heck out of that with one another, breathing in and breathing out. I promise you 7 things. I'm going to finish with 7 things today. Game number 7 is our reverse escape rooms. What's this? Reverse escape room is like Montessori school on steroids. Old school escape rooms are great because you go to them and then you break out of a room. I can use this reverse escape room pedagogy to break into a unit. Just by sending a slide deck on a Monday, I can get kids excited to learn about any course or any content area. And I'll talk more about it in my Adrenaline Rush session at 1 p.m. But as the reverse escape rooms go, I call it QR break in. Pick a theme. In this case, I picked the class is lava because the students were watching Floor is Lava over the break. And I said, all right, we have to hop around the virtual classroom, guys, because we can't get into the real one. It's flooded with lava. But where you go and what order is totally up to you. I have 8 or 10 different centers, stations, where you can hop to solve a work product. When you think you have it, virtually call me over, and you get the check mark. You can feel that micro credentialing, that micro progress, clicking through, and then you move at your own pace. Solve center 1, nice work, move to center 2, or go to center 7, or go to center 8. I don't care the order in which you need to do it. You can go in any order that you like, but there are 10 items. We have 3 days. On your mark, get set, go. I need them to sign up for text alerts or to complete an About Me survey, to film a short Flipgrid, or to read an article online. But I don't care in the order in which they do it. So I'll take this, share it out with them, take a deep breath, and say, as they're coming through, I just get to watch them come back in. So perhaps at each center, they're doing something like filling out a Google form, completing a graphic organizer. Maybe some students are filming a Flipgrid while others are posting to Padlet, signing up for text alerts or completing a sketch note, filling an online survey or whatever it looks like. I don't care in which order they do it. I just want to see that they are doing it. Once they have done it in each of these locations, I'll start to see them coming through. And I'll be able to have my master leaderboard where I can say, these are the things that Bobby has done, that Jamie has done, that Susie has done. Check, 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 check off the list. Midway through the week, I can see that Mike and Susie have fallen behind for whatever reason, and I shoot a message to Mike and Susie privately that says, "Hey guys, we have 5 days to complete 10 centers. I can't help but notice we're 3 days in and I only see 2 centers from you. Are you okay?" It's a blind carbon copy email, so they never feel bullied or blamed or shamed for any reason. They feel safer and more supported, and then they get that one-on-one feedback where a coach believes in them and they're not feeling like they're in any ways deficient or wrong. We can find out what's going on with them and help bring them back in. The pandemic is hard, but I want to be able to go the distance with our learners, whether we're in person or in a hybrid model, and I want to help you do the same. I know we talked a lot today, and I promised I'd finish at 50 minutes, so true to my word, I will be done in like 60 seconds. I'm happy to answer questions on Twitter at meehan.edu, and all the templates you saw available today are available at adrenalinerush.com. If you would like a copy of this presentation today, it will be available. If you liked today's presentation, feel free to rate it in the Sketch app. It would help me figure out what I can do better and ways I can help you otherwise. Hit me up on Twitter or on adrenalinerush.com, and I will gladly catch up with you to do more. I love you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay home, wear a mask, and please let me know how I can help so we can make a better education space for all of our learners. God bless you, stay safe, and I'm happy to hang out for the next couple of seconds, or we can hit up on Twitter. I'm going to hit the stop sharing of screen button, and say thanks again.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you sharing today with us. Attendees, please remember that we do have sessions starting every hour and that the secret word for your certificate for this session is tenacity. And it is case sensitive, so you will need to make sure that you start it with a capital T. All right. Well, thank you guys. I'm just getting lots of kudos for presentation. No questions, so I think we're in a good shape. All right, guys. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day.